I'm Brian at the Stephen Udvar-Hazy Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, Chantilly, Virginia, at the Dulles International Airport. Gonna go see one of the best aviation museums in the region, if not the country. Come along if you want to. Here's the center, somewhat unique observation tower, which we'll go up into shortly. But first, we need to head inside the building. Our first stop is the observation tower, which is reminiscent of an airport control tower, which provides an outstanding view of the Dulles International Airport, including the airport's control tower. Situated between the approaches to runways 1 right and 1 center, the deck gives us a great view of aircraft coming down the final. And as luck would have it, here's an all-Nippon Airways Boeing 787 featuring a nice white and blue Star Wars paint theme, reminiscent of R2-D2. The north end of the platform gives a beautiful panoramic view of the airport. Runway 1 right, the terminal, the tower, and 1 center off to the left. Looking south, there's another one on about a mile final. Looks to me like an Embraer E-175, likely an Air West aircraft being operated for United Airlines. Here's an old airport lighting control panel. This one came out of the old control tower cab at the Atlantic City International Airport. Boxes like this were how the controllers turn runway and taxiway lights on and off and vary their brightness. This is a light gun used by tower controllers in the rare event they need to communicate with an aircraft with no radio. Most pilots have never seen actual light signals from the tower, but tower cabs are still equipped with these guns. And to the right is a model of a weather collection station. As I walk out onto the museum floor, I found this, which I thought was pretty cool. It's the end result of what was called Project Egress, which was part of the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. It's a full-scale replica of Apollo 11's command module hatch. Project Egress was a joint effort between the Air and Space Museum, Adam Savage from the show Mythbusters, and Tested.com. 44 people from across the U.S. were selected and asked to build a part for the hatch using original plans. The techniques and materials they used were left up to them. On 18 July 2019, everything came together at the Downtown Air and Space Museum, and the hatch was assembled on a live broadcast. And this was the end result of that project. Now here's an airplane I personally have over 1,000 hours in, a Cessna 206, sometimes called a stationaire. As we walk into the main hall of the museum, we're greeted by the Space Shuttle Discovery in the distance and this fantastic SR-71A Blackbird here in the center of the main hall. This particular aircraft went into service in 1966. After flying for 24 years, it made its last flight in 1990, when it flew from Los Angeles to the Dulles Airport here in Washington. That flight took 1 hour and 4 minutes. According to my math, that's close to 3,500 miles an hour. Now, exactly how the pilot did that in an aircraft that's supposed to only go around 2,000 miles an hour, well, that's not for me to say. Anyway, once the aircraft landed here at Dulles, it was retired and turned over to the Air and Space Museum, and here it remains today. She's got a wingspan of nearly 56 feet and measures 108 feet from nose to tail. Fully fueled, she weighs in at around 170,000 pounds, which is around the same as a typical Boeing 737. The SR-71 was Lockheed's answer to providing the U.S. with a high-altitude, super high-speed, long-range reconnaissance aircraft. This thing flies through the air at about the same speed as a .30-06 rifle bullet. And when pushed through the air that fast, atmospheric friction tends to heat up the airframe, and I mean hot enough to melt aluminum. So much of the skin is titanium. There's Stinky, the symbol of Lockheed's Skunk Works. Two really nice examples of World War II era aircraft hanging from the rafters. A Curtiss P-40 Warhawk and a Chance Vought F4U Corsair. A German World War I era aircraft, the Halberstadt CL.IV, dating from 1918. This was one of Germany's best ground attack aircraft of the war. Further up is another World War I aircraft, a French-built SPAD-16, basically a two-seat version of the more popular SPAD-7 fighter. Hanging from the overhead is a nice-looking Neuport 28, another French-built fighter from World War I. Also hanging from the ceiling is this very delicate-looking wooden fabric craft, a Langley Aerodrome A. This was one of the many attempts at manned flight occurring at the dawn of the 20th century. However, after crashing it twice in 1903, Langley abandoned the design as being unfeasible. Back down on the floor is another French-built World War I aircraft, a Caudron G4 used mainly as a bomber. Here's a very cool angle on this Grumman F6F Hellcat. This is a World War II era fighter, which served extensively in the Pacific Theater. This particular Hellcat was used as a drone in 1946 during atomic bomb testing at the Bikini Atoll. This is a somewhat modified North American P-51 Mustang C model, known as Excalibur III. It spent much of its post-World War II career setting records of one kind or another, one of which was a flight between New York and London. She did it in 7 hours and 48 minutes, which remains the fastest time for a piston-powered propeller airplane. Here's a nice little Piper J-3 Cub. Below on the museum floor is a World War II Lockheed P-38 Lightning. Coming into view is the tail of the B-29 Enola Gay. This is not a B-29 that's painted like the Enola Gay. It is the Enola Gay. On August 6, 1945, this aircraft was flying at 31,000 feet above the Japanese city of Hiroshima. Bombardier Thomas Fearby diligently watched his bomb sight as the sight angle indicator slowly moved upward on its dial toward the fixed range angle indicator. At 08:15, the two indicators aligned with each other. Inside the bomb sight, a switch closed, sending an electrical pulse to the bomb bay. The shackles holding Little Boy snapped open, releasing the device, which fell clear of the aircraft. It fell for 53 seconds, then detonated 2,000 feet above the city. That mission was instrumental in ending the war with Japan. One might confuse this as a Boeing 707, which in a way, I guess it is. But don't be fooled. This is a Boeing Aircraft Company prototype aircraft dating from the early 1950s, designated as a Boeing 367. And it is the design that was the basis of the 707, as well as the KC-135, and represents Boeing's entrance into the era of building jet airliners. Here's a very nice looking Grumman G-22 with retractable landing gear. Some more World War II aircraft down below on the floor. That's a German FW-190. Next door is a Heinkel HE-219, a late war German night fighter. I believe this is the only HE-219 here in the US, maybe the world. Here is a Japanese George, a Kawanishi N1K2, produced relatively late in the war. It was considered one of Japan's best fighter aircraft. So much to look through. I'm going to end this episode here. The second half of my explore of this center will be in part 2. So until then, remember, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, and thanks for watching.